So let's now go to the second item then. This is the time and place for workshop before the board for possible action regarding proposed amendments to Nevada Gaming Commission Reg 2, regarding without limitation the creation of the Esports Technical Advisory Committee, updates to the requirements relating to submission of an electronic mail address by licensees and applicants, and regulatory construction updates to Regulation 2. And this workshop has been properly noticed in accordance with the open meeting law. Okay, Madam Secretary, is there any public comment?
We did not receive any written public comment. I'm not sure if anyone is wanting to make public comments in person, either in Carson or Las Vegas today.
Okay. Is there any public comment in the South? None that I can see. And in the North, please step forward if you have comment. Oh, you have comment, please. And please state your name for the record, if you will.
My name is Seth Schorr. I'm CEO of Fifth Street Gaming. I didn't prepare a public comment, but I just wanted to take a moment to express my overwhelming support for this regulation change. I think incorporating esports wagering in Nevada is critically important for our industry to keep us ahead of the curve. We're seeing other states, other jurisdictions take this approach, and I believe that we have an opportunity to not only stay relevant, but to do it in the right way that we know how to do things here in Nevada. When I look at this, when I look at these regulations, when I look at the proposal of creating a technology committee, Esports Technology Advisory Committee within the GCB, I feel like this has been a work in progress for 6 or 7 years. And I remember very early conversations with Chief Barbie and Chairman Burnett at the time, and how supportive the Gaming Control Board has been in the operator's desire to incorporate wagering on video games. And as one of the many individuals in our industry who has been a supporter, I think the patient and thoughtful approach that we have taken as both industry operators and regulators is a good one. I think it's been very good. I think that the original Senate bill that we tried to pass, that was amended throughout the session, was probably a good change. And I think while this approach has been a good one, now is the time to take the necessary steps to give operators a path to accept wagers on esports, as there's no doubt in my mind it is going to continue to be the type of sport that our current and future customers will want to bet on. So thank you for the opportunity to
Sure.
say.
Appreciate that comment.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'd ask for our senior policy counsel, Michael Morton, step forward. And if you would, Mr. Morton, please give us, if you could start with some legislative history, just rough, if you could.
Sure. Good morning, board members and Madam Secretary. For the record, Mike Morton, Senior Policy Counsel for the Nevada Gaming Control Board. Before you this morning is a proposed amendment to Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 2, dated August 10th, 2021. This proposed amendment seeks to accomplish 3 objectives. 1, establish the framework by which the Esports Technical Advisory Committee will operate. 2, change the way by which a licensee updates its email address of record. And 3, makes various other non-substantive changes that more align Regulation 2 with the drafting standards and conventions used in the Nevada revised statutes. For the ease of the board members and anyone else observing this workshop, I'd like to explain the proposed changes by topic rather than in the order they appear in the draft. That does conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
If I could just take some license here, let's see, Chief Taylor, would you please step forward? Good morning, Chief Taylor. So you currently, your division currently takes esports wagers under certain circumstances. Would you please explain that process?
So it's allowed under the other event, and so we get an application or a request from the licensee, and we vet that. And then if it's something that we will approve, we'll send that out, and the industry can then take wagers on that event. Once and if it's considered a sport, it will be moved from the other event to just, they'll be able to take wagers on it because it'll be considered a sporting event.
I'm in full support. I'm happy to see that we're developing a structure here in Nevada for esports. This is something I was interested in during my LLM program and wrote my student note on esports. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of literature available. I'm sure there's plenty more available now, but I'm happy to see this moving forward. So I'm happy to support it.
Mr. Schorr, would you come back up to the podium if you would? Thank you. So as the non-policy body, the sort of the police body that's associated or in the gaming regulatory space, the board doesn't normally, we don't wade into most legislative matters. So Senator Ben Kiefer was the primary sponsor of this bill. I do have some background as far as the financial analyses of esports, and it's a growing sport, especially in certain countries now. It's transmitted primarily through Twitch and what, YouTube? Is that the way it's consumed?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Tell me what when you look into the future, how do you see esports working in a terrestrial sense?
Sure. So, if you look at a majority of the esport tournaments, of course, they're on Twitch, YouTube gaming to a much lesser extent. But I think what we're talking about here today are the tentpole events, right? The Masters, the big tournaments. And, some of those we hope we can bring here to Las Vegas. I think it's, to Nevada. I think it's very important. While a majority of esports will be watched online, it is a sport. It's much more exciting to watch it in real life with tens of thousands of fans, which we have done here in Las Vegas over the years, and most notably at the Mandalay Bay Event Center. So I do see a future where Las Vegas can be an epicenter for live events. There, potentially are other channels that people watch esports, but Twitch has really planted a flag as the main media channel for esports.
And so you see, the finals or semifinals or some kind of round robin sort of ultimate conclusion of a series. You see that happening sort of in a live format.
I do, and whether that's encouraging a major tournament like the League of Legends World Finals to come here, or giving a gaming operator the path to hold its own tournaments online. That MGM sponsors a tournament online where the finals take place at one of their properties. I think one of the reasons, and we did see an uptick during COVID. I think famously around the world, people were betting on esports and ping pong. That's the only choice they had. I think what we're doing here today is giving operators a clear path to incorporate esports into their strategy. Like I said, 6-7 years ago, we saw esports as a thing. A few of us took a leap of faith. Others tried things as well, but the path was a little clunky. Super grateful that the board was even open to accommodating requests. Like Chief Taylor said, in my experience, almost all of them were approved. One wasn't, that I think should have been, and I think if this committee existed, it would have been. Doesn't matter, it was years ago. But I think that this, by formalizing the process, by really, giving the board access to experts, not just on a one-off basis. So we got to get smart about this tournament because this one operator filled out an application. Let's quickly figure out what the Overwatch League is. And by the way, the board did that, and hats off to them to do that, but in a very reactionary way. I think this allows us to get ahead of it, which will then give the operators the confidence to know that there's a path to make it a bigger part of their strategy. That's the one thing that I haven't seen yet is an operator. They've dipped their toes in the water, but haven't gone all in, and I think this allows us to do that.
Okay. I have heard some concerns just generally, and I'll voice them about integrity related to esports. Is there a way that this bill might allow for this committee to discuss and potentially frame up an integrity focused framework?
Absolutely. So the Gaming Control Board, signed an MOU with ESIC, the Esports Integrity Coalition. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They're definitely one of the most important bodies that helps to maintain the integrity of the sport. I'd argue that a digital game is much easier to maintain the integrity than a stick and ball sport. The player history is there, the data is there. I mean, the red flags are just much more obvious. I also argue that, initially we should only be approving, like I said, the tentpole events, the events that there's, so much emphasis and spotlight on these events that, throwing the finals of an esports event is, as unlikely as throwing the Super Bowl. I think it's important to understand who the owners of the teams are. The Overwatch League is a league that I believe we should be comfortable completely allowing betting on the outcome of each game, not just the winner of the league. Amongst many reasons, it's owned and operated by Activision Blizzard, one of the largest gaming companies in the world. The teams are each owned by major sport team owners, right? So their reputation is on the line. It's almost a partnership at this point. And I think by selecting our partners wisely, there are no guarantees in any sport, but it sets us up to raise the bar of integrity and mitigate any funny business going on that none of us want. And I think that generally what I've found in the esports community from the low man on the totem pole, the small games, all the way up to the tentpole events, there is a culture of integrity that I believe is aligned with what we expect here in Nevada, the gold standard in the gambling industry.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that, and the other changes, Mr. Morton, are drafting changes essentially to bring the formatting of Reg 2 into comportment with the way that the legislature drafts, CB drafts. Okay, thank you. And as a former drafter yourself, we appreciate your expertise and willingness to do that. Okay, I'll bring it back.
Yeah, I'm happy to support in the current form with the numerical change Mr. Morton mentioned. I wasn't sure Member Watkins was going to make the motion, or
okay, Member Watkins.
Would you? I'm happy to make the motion as well. I didn't know if she had any other changes or comments.
I don't have any additional, really anything substantive. I just like to just add to the record that I think this is an important change. It provides a process for submitting recommendations to the board, provides minimum quarterly meetings for the technical advisory committee. It provides designation of a chair, it provides for resources to the committee, and defines quorum. And I think these are important steps to making a structure for the committee. So I am in full support.
Okay, wonderful. As much as anything, I think what Member Watkins is articulating is that this regulation creates a framework for implementing, and it is an implementation methodology for what is included in Senate Bill 165 from this last session. Okay, with that, I would ask for someone to make a motion.
Sure, I'm happy to do so, Chair Gibson. I move that the board submit to the Nevada Gaming Commission for their consideration and adoption proposed amendments to Regulation 2. They're before us. Draft dated August 10th, 2021, taking into account the change Mr. Morton had discussed on the record, along with the recommendation that any such adoption be made effective upon Nevada Gaming Commission approval.
Thank you. Madam Secretary.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Member Katsoros?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morton. Okay, so public comment.
This item is placed on the agenda for the public to make comments on gaming related matters.
Okay. Is there any public comment in the north or south? I see no one here in Las Vegas. No one in Carson. And with that,
That concludes our second workshop for the day.
okay, thank you very much. Thank you for attending all.
Bye, Marie.
Bye, Tina. Thank you.
Okay, take care.